Good morning, I'm Jess. Not in the way to work. If I was going to work, I'd be going to Fossey Taylor. We're a group of companies that make investing in property easy for clients. I'm not going there. It's a beautiful day this morning and I woke up, the diary was clear. I got a few sites to go visit. I'm going to pick up some paperwork from the office and I'm going to take the family out for lunch. So I'm not going to work and I would not want to lie to you. But I have got 3 questions and I want to get them answered. They're all from a chap called Paul. Now I'm assuming it's the same. I'm assuming you're the same person, Paul. I'm assuming I'm talking to just one person here. I suppose it could be 3 questions from one or more Pauls, but here we go. The questions are: if I have cash, should I buy cash or should I get mortgages and therefore be able to buy more property? Question 2, can the time taken to recycle the capital out of a deal really be 3 months? And the last question is, which area is good to buy in at present? So, question 1, should I buy with a mortgage or should I leverage to be able to buy more? Maths says leverage, definitely. Take the example, it's a £100,000 house and we buy it with a mortgage or without mortgage. Do the deal both ways. You buy a £100,000 house in cash, the market moves 10%, and therefore you make £10,000 on your £100,000. Work that out as a yield. Do the same deal with a mortgage, buy it at maybe 8% loan to value. So you put £20,000 down into the property, the house is worth £100,000, the market still moves 10%, and therefore you've made £10,000 on your £20,000. The yield is far superior, leveraged. So all things being equal, the maths says leverage, but it's not always quite as simple as that. There are quite a few other things you need to take into account. The main one is not every house that you want to buy is mortgageable. We're always looking to buy a deal, a bargain of a house, and add value, and quite often that can lead you to buying a bit of a wreck, and they're not often mortgageable. Well, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Now, there's also opportunity cost, times of, how many times can you move your money? All sorts of other things come into play. You can have 2 scenarios that look vastly different, but actually when you add all those things in and factor everything in, they can work out exactly the same. It's something that you have to work out on a deal by deal basis. For example, right there in the moment, what loan to value can you get? Personally, you. What deposit have you got available? How many times would it split up? Would it split into 2 or 3? Massively different numbers, depending on your personal circumstance right there and then. The mortgage deal that you have found, just the one that's happy, you're happy, it's accessible for you, you have to pay the fees, whatever they are, and but what loan to value is it? Because that all those things, put them all in, and you have to do it on a one-to-one personal basis. Happily, we're really good at doing that. That's what the guys in the office, they are experts at doing it. So I would suggest that you book onto one of our discovery days. Come and see us, and we have a day where we run through all your different options and the opportunities, and it becomes reasonably obvious what to do at that point. It's not rocket science. Nothing that we do is rocket science, but it does take a little bit of understanding, and usually we can get to a clear path of this is exactly what we need to be doing. So what was the next question? Can the time taken to recycle capital really be 3 months? Yes, is the honest answer. You can, yeah, no problem. Not sure if you really would be right now. Again, you'd want to check this was still right in 3 months, 3 months from now, and 3 months from now. Yeah, keep checking the mortgage market. I own a mortgage company, and a couple of people there who will be able to get you the right answers. But right now, I would say that there are mortgage companies out there, lenders out there, that will lend quicker than 3 months. If people don't know, there's a self-imposed rule on most of the mortgage industry that says we will not refinance a property sooner than 6 months after the initial change of ownership. So you've got to own it for 6 months before we look at refinancing it, basically. There are some lenders, because it's not a law, it's just a guidance or a rule that some lenders have taken on, most lenders have taken on, and there are some that will say, no, we'll do it any time, we'll do it straight away, we'll do it in 3 months. In my experience, all the lenders right now that will do it quicker than 6 months, they're not the best rates. They're probably also going to be a little bit slow. They're more the challenger banks. It's not the high street banks, it's the challenger banks, and they'll be a little bit slower doing all their paperwork. By the time you bought it, done it up, got a tenant in it, and got your paperwork in and got it ready, and actually the money's in the bank, you're probably looking at about 4 months, maybe 5. And honestly, I don't think it's worth paying the premium to gain what could only be 1 or 2 months in terms of the difference between the 4-month recycling or the 6-month recycling. I don't think it's worth it. Part of your question as well, you thought maybe should it be, or could it be up to 8 months to recycle? It could be, but I would suggest you're working with a mortgage broker that isn't very motivated to get your money back out, because it really does matter that. Again, come and see us, and we'll work through your personal situation and see what mortgages are available. The answer to both of those questions, because I sense here an impatient person, and that's not a criticism at all. I'm an impatient person, and who doesn't want to make the best of the opportunity? If you're going to do this, why not do this to the best of your ability? And what you've sensed here is you need to get as much money back out as you can and preserve your capital and do things as quickly as you can, obviously. The most important thing, in my opinion, is not the time, it's the preservation of capital. So if you want to prioritise one above the other, prioritise preservation of capital, because that's the thing that's going to slow you down. Waiting a couple of months, not having the £20,000 that you need right now, that's it, you're dead. You've got to wait for the next, however long it's going to take you to bring in the next £20,000, or whatever the figure is that you're short to do the next deal. So preservation of capital, prioritise that above anything else. To start with, if you're just starting a portfolio, it's all about being patient and making sure you do the good deals. Making sure that every deal you do counts. It doesn't matter, honestly, so much when you're 20, 30 deals in. It's the rent that you'll have coming in is going to cover up any, I wouldn't say a bad deal, no deal's a bad deal, as long as you know where you're heading with it and you're within certain criteria. Some deals leave in a little bit more, some bring out some more, some are higher yield, some are lesser yield, but you couldn't say one's a good deal or a bad deal, they're just different. But one of them may leave behind more capital and the other one wouldn't. So I'd prioritise capital above anything else, particularly in the beginning. However, having said all that, it's impossible these days, in my opinion, to do a deal that leaves no capital in whatsoever. If you're chasing down that dream, you will be frustrated. Loan to values play a big part of that. If we could all get an 85% loan to value mortgage, we'll be pulling out every last penny on most of our deals. But most of our clients are going to be settling around the 75% loan to value, maybe even 70, because they're just better rates. And because of that, you will be leaving behind a little bit of cash. Don't worry about that, it's no big deal. Leave a bit behind, you haven't lost it, you haven't spent it, it's still sat there in equity in your property. Live with it and work it into your plan, and it's totally possible to do that and keep going, and we can show you how to do that as well. So that brings us on to the next question. Question 3, do we have a good area? Yes, we do. We have quite a few good areas, actually, several. We work in the East Midlands, and we are lucky that in the East Midlands, the areas where we invest, it's not a blanket East Midlands, not everywhere works, but where we invest works. I suppose that's why we invest there. We've got a good ratio of earnings versus house prices versus rents. It all plays into, if you live in a place, or we're working in a place where house prices are about half the national average, but the income is about the national average and rents are about the national average as well, it means that we've got almost, by default, almost twice as good as the national average yield on rental. That's just maths. Now we're digging a bit deeper, and we're going, we don't invest in a market as a whole. Nobody does. If you look at a whole big picture of an area that's 100 square miles across or whatever, that's not a market you can invest in. You invest in one house on one street, one at a time. So you can pick down into exactly what you want to do and what you want to achieve. in a lot more detail there. But it's a good place to start in an area where the natural yield's good, so always look for that. We're also looking for areas that are receiving inward investment, so that might be private or public money being invested in the area to bring it up. If you're going to invest in an area, invest in a doer-upper. If you go around a place and it's all shiny and nice, that might not be the best place for you. You might want to invest in somewhere that's going to be shiny and nice, but now is a bit rough around the edges. I like to see cranes and building sites and those kind of things all around where we invest. One of our favourite areas right now is North Notts. We invest in Derby, Nottingham, and we've got this other area, new area. We've been investing there for just shy of a year now, and we call it North Nottinghamshire because it's not actually one particular town, like you could say Nottingham or Derby. It's a group of small and large towns, all interwoven around a good road network, a couple of sort of good dual carriageways leading over east and west, A1 on one side, M1 on the other side. Loads of industry, loads of inward investment. It feels to me a little bit like Nottingham used to be. We can't buy a house in Nottingham for £50,000 anymore. We just can't. It's impossible. But in these areas we can. So your yield's particularly good there. Quite often now we can buy a house in those areas that's mortgageable as well. So again, you get to invest in a capital saving way. And if I was you, I'd be looking at those as potential. So again, come along, have a look. So hopefully I've answered the questions. I think it's the start of an answer at least. I think the conclusion would be for you to come see us. We run a monthly discovery day where all these kind of questions can get answered. You can dig down in detail, and it's really important to get a personalised plan put together, because your personal circumstances will affect all of this more than a general answer can ever give you. So click on the link or do whatever the guys that put this website put the video on the website or the podcast or the webinar or wherever it's going. Click there, come and see us, and I look forward to seeing you.